You're listening to JTE Movie Thinks. Is that the title? Is that correct grammar? All right, we'll go with it. It's a show about movies and thinking. And now, here's your host, every man's hero, JTE.
Hey guys, what's going on? JTE back here with another episode of JTE Movie Thinks. And today I want to say first time guest, but because of some computer problems, she is a second time guest, but this is your first time hearing her. Rachel J. Cushing. What's up, Rachel?
Thank you very much for having me back, technically. Yeah. Although for you guys, this is our first go. I'm sorry about your computer. Hopefully you didn't lose too much other than on my episode, but I'm back, so that's cool.
Yeah, guys, so my computer crashed. I had to replace my hard drive, even though I replaced it not even 6 months ago. I lost a couple episodes. Rachel's, unfortunately, was one of them. We had a good episode. We talked about Saving Private Ryan, and we went to some Spielberg stuff.
Yeah, because you said that nobody had brought up a Spielberg movie before.
I guess we're going to have to wait another time, unless you saw Spielberg.
Somebody else will have to bring up Spielberg.
But, yeah, guys, so, again, this is Rachel's second time recording, but this is your guys' first time actually getting here. You might know her from Schmoeville. She's a big fan of Profiles, big fan of basically all the shows, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. She's a film geek, and I think the first time I really got to familiar was with Profiles because Scott Mance would read off your reviews, and they were so good.
Thank you.
And it was like Scott would even say it on Profiles, like this girl should be writing reviews for like a newspaper or something. Yeah, so caught our eye, and I think the first time we met was Kamikaze. Which was, we did like a panel out there. It was just this little like mini Comic-Con that Stan Lee does out here in LA. That was really fun because that was the first time we did a panel, and the best thing about that is meeting fans and meeting just, friends that we make on Facebook and Schmoeville. You guys are everywhere. We love getting a chance to meet you. If I sound a little more slurred and I mess up my words more than usual, it's because I look like I just got punched by, well, not want to say Floyd. That guy doesn't have a good hit. But it looks like Mayweather hit me in the mouth. I was playing basketball last night, and I basically caught an elbow. And let's just say I look like Rocky at the end of the first fight of Rocky. If I had a swollen eye to match my mouth, it would be really good.
It'd complete the picture. I can attest to it, guys. He's got a pretty big swollen lip over here.
So I'm going to try my best to not mess up words more than I usually do. All right, so you know how this works, Rachel. I love this show because I never know going in what movie we're going to talk about and where that conversation will take us. So I'm going to ask you, Rachel, what was the last movie you watched? Now, again, not something you had to watch, whether it be because Profiles is coming up or you wanted to write a review. I want something that was more just kind of like personally something you wanted to watch. Something you said, you know what, maybe it was on Netflix, you hadn't seen it before. Maybe it's an old DVD on your shelf that you decide, you know what, I haven't seen Godfather in a long time. I'm going to just pull that off because I almost did that last night.
Nice.
What's the last movie you watched from beginning to end?
So I tend to go on these sort of movie binges, kicks, and they can be started off for a whole slew of reasons, something I overheard, something I read, something I had a conversation with someone about. And for me, my most recent binge has been some sci-fi flicks. Basically, because I saw the Martian trailer attached to Jurassic World. I am an unabashed Ridley Scott fan. Absolutely love him. Yes, he's had some not so great movies, but he's had some of my favorites of all time. And I'm incredibly excited for The Martian. I think this could be his big comeback. I kind of hated the trailer because it gave away too much.
Way too much. Yeah, it's Castaway in Space. It's kind of what they're
a little bit. And the book, I read the book, and the book's amazing, but it's sort of a narrow point of view, whereas the movie's obviously going to broaden it, and I mean that whole cast and everything. So I'm still really excited, but I really didn't need that much given away in the trailer. But it did kickstart this. I was like, I think I'm going to go back and rewatch Alien. And I rewatched this little independent movie called Europa Report. And then the other night, the last one that I watched that we're going to talk about is Danny Boyle's Sunshine.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow, good. Okay, this is good. Wow, I love Sunshine. I like Sunshine a lot. We'll get into what things I might not like about it, which I think is pretty universal. First of all, let's talk about The Martian just a little bit.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Interstellar a little bit. Because it almost could be the same character from Interstellar if he didn't go insane.
And I think Matt Damon's gone on record in interviews being like, I didn't want to do this movie. I just did this movie. I just did the Stranded on a Planet in a spacesuit movie, but it's Ridley fucking Scott. So, you know what? I guess I will do this movie. And yeah, I think that it's a good matchup.
And Ridley, I mean, the last time he did a sci-fi film was Prometheus.
Yes.
Which was like his, I want to say sequel to Alien. It was like a side...
Still don't know what to call it.
Yeah, we're still not sure where that lands in the universe. But The Martian, first of all, great cast.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, everyone in that movie is like, you got people from Kristen Wiig, Jessica Chastain, which again adds to Interstellar.
I know, right? Bringing it all back.
Yeah, bringing it all back. Jeff Bridges is in there.
Kate Mara.
Yeah, Kate Mara.
Which is funny because she's doing the Fantastic Four, so again, sort of the space scientist kind of stuff. But yeah.
But yeah, it looks really good. And like I said, Ridley Scott, I believe he it's like, it's kind of like... I'm trying to think how you say it. I think I've done this before with a boxing reference. You know, you watch old champs fight, even though they haven't been that good lately, because you're hoping you're gonna see a glimpse of that champion that you knew when he was in his prime. I want Ridley Scott to hit another freaking haymaker. I want him to hit another knockout, because it's been a while. Prometheus, while visually beautiful, I mean, there's some people that love it, hate it, or you can be in the middle.
Yeah.
It was like, I can't remember the last time he made a movie where everyone was just like loved it. Which, I mean, Gladiator was obviously a big one for him.
Yeah, it's been a while
Robin
since
Hood was not very good.
No, the Counselor should be
was not
forgotten.
good. Oh, God, The Counselor.
I did not hate Exodus. I didn't think it was great, but there were moments, and nobody does, like, epic like Scott does.
Well, that's the thing. Like, when I watched Exodus, I forgot about it after 2 days.
Yeah.
But watching it, it's so beautiful. That's one thing you're always going to get with Ridley Scott films.
Yes.
Even if you don't like the movies or you can't really get fully engaged with the movie, it's worth a ticket of admission just to sit there because you really feel like you're back in those times. And one of my favorite films of his is Kingdom of Heaven.
But
the director's cut. Yeah, I discussed this with Dan Murrow.
Yep, I heard it.
It's one of the most beautiful films. Like, even though I didn't like it the first time, it was still visually beautiful. And then when I saw the director's cut and it was even better, I was like, okay, now it's a great movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's get into Sunshine.
All right.
Let me ask you this. I often like to get asked this question. When was the first time you saw it? Because this wasn't your first time, was it?
No.
Okay.
I saw it in the theater.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I was out here in LA. Okay. I actually had heard about it because at the time I was working for a trailer company, a movie trailer company. So I knew about it, and I like to have, like, you know, my finger on, you know, independent movies and keeping an eye out for them. I've been like that for a long time. And it was a very small independent. It was British. It's Danny Boyle. He really hadn't broken through. I mean, Trainspotting, obviously.
Was this after Slumdog Millionaire?
No, Slumdog came later.
Was before, okay.
Yes, this came before.
Okay.
And I think generally it wasn't considered a big hit. I mean, it didn't even play in more than like 500 theaters in the U.S.
That's what I was going to say, because I also saw it in L.A. at ArcLight Hollywood.
Oh, nice.
Because I remember, because
I can't remember what theater I saw.
Yeah, ArcLight Hollywood is one of the more premier theaters in L.A., and that's where you're going to find a lot of this. Like you said, it's only playing in 500 theaters.
Right.
ArcLight's probably one of those theaters. Yeah. Because definitely when it comes to a director like Danny Boyle, who's kind of made famous with 28 Weeks Later and some of the smaller films, Trainspotting. Yeah. I remember going to that theater, and, you know, I like Danny Boyle. I remember a friend of mine from college was with me. He was a huge Danny Boyle fan.
Yeah.
And I think at that time I was living with him out here because he had a place, and this is when I first moved to LA, and I like needed a place to crash. And I was crashing with him, and he was like, new Danny Boyle movie, we're going. I'm like, all right, cool, let's check it out. I like sci-fi movies. And the one thing I'm going to say before we get into the whole plot of the story and everything, the one thing I came away with the movie was I was really impressed with Chris Evans' performance. I
was impressed across the board, but that's, you know what, it's funny, I'd forgotten that was him.
Oh, really?
Because it had been years since I saw it, and I remember him making, as soon as I started rewatching it the other night, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, he plays Mace, and Mace is a really good character. He's one of my favorite characters, actually, because he's more layered than you would expect him to be at the beginning. And and here's the thing, I actually think Chris Evans is a fantastic actor.
I think he's really good,
that, you know, he's Captain America, and that's amazing, and he's amazing, and he makes that character multidimensional too. But I love it when he did these smaller ones, and he's actually had a really kind of wide-ranging career that's been impressive. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I forgot. But that's so cool that I kind of forgot, and I got to sit back and remember and enjoy it again.
So before I say the next thing about Chris Evans, quick plot point. Let's just do the. You know what? I'm gonna pull down IMDb. I like to do this once in a while.
Okay.
I like to throw up and read the synopsis because I feel like IMDb. It's very simple. It's very to the point. And so I'm gonna pull that right now. Sunshine, 2007. Yeah, that's about the year I moved out in LA, like 2006ish.
Okay.
So I was crashing at my friend's floor at this point. A team of international. Hold on, I lost it already. What the heck just happened? Okay, here we go. A team of international astronauts is sent to a dangerous mission to regenerate the dying sun with a nuclear fusion bomb in 2057. So basically, the sun's dying.
Right.
Basically, they're going up there to restart the engine for the sun because it's a dying star. That's what all suns are.
Yeah.
And cut without a sun, the Earth's gonna die. And this
it's actually kind of like one of my favorite like one of my first gut reactions to liking it was usually these movies to like save a dying Earth. It's you point the ship the other way. But this is like the first time they like stay within the solar system. It's like a small twist on a general plot point for all sci-fi save humanity movies.
True.
You know? And the sun being the goal, and also the sun kind of ended up being like a character in a weird way. Just the way the psychological aspects get to it. I know it's kind of like a way to read into it, but I just felt that's how he shot it, and ultimately is why I like this movie better than Europa Report or Event Horizon or other kind of similar-ish type films.
Oh man, Event Horizon's a pretty good kind of parallel film to this, but I don't really like it that much.
I don't dislike it. There are aspects of it that I like, and it's similar. It's the sort of age-old question of A, let's save humanity, and B, exploration, and C, what that does to a human being. 8 astronauts, scientists in a spaceship for months on end, and what happens to them psychologically. And all of those 3 movies and many others explore that. Heck, Alien explores that in a lot of ways too.
Very good point.
So that's sort of the typical trope. And then, but Sunshine, its twist was that the sun was their goal. And restarting the sun is okay. Maybe not quite scientifically possible, I don't know. But I liked it, and it got me hooked the first time I saw it from the get-go.
Yeah, and what really drew me into this movie was the cast. Cillian Murphy as kind of like the scientist.
Yeah, he's the physicist guy. He's the one who understands the bomb.
And this guy, if you're familiar with Danny Boyle, he's been in 28 Days Later, sorry. Danny Boyle's first zombie film. And one thing I really like about Danny Boyle is he jumps around genres.
Yeah,
definitely. He did a movie called Millions, which is like a kid's movie. He goes 28 Days Later, which is a zombie movie. You got Slumdog, which
127 hours.
127 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that he doesn't just do the same thing over and over. And that's one of the reasons I was really excited this movie, because I'd like to see his style, because he does have a style.
Very much so.
I'd like to see it brought into a sci-fi kind of environment. Now, so Cillian Murphy's in it, and like I mentioned earlier, Chris Evans, which I'm going to say something about his performance in this movie in a minute. Rose Byrne, I forgot. She was the other girl in this. Holy crap.
And Michelle Yeoh.
People know from Crouching Tiger. Yep. A really good cast. Solid actors. I mean, Cliff Curtis, Mark Strong. I mean, all
that was
very
another one
good.
I forgot that it was Mark Strong, because you can't really tell it's Mark Strong, because he's the other captain who's kind of gotten burnt and strange, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, it's an international cast, which is a nice thing to see. And there's not a weak person in the bunch, even though some of them are lesser known names like Hiroyuki Sanada and
who was
Cliff
in
Curtis.
Wolverine 2.
Yes,
he
that's
plays
right.
the evil stepfather.
Yep.
Now, one thing I love about this movie is Chris Evans, and this was really my walkaway with the movie, was Chris Evans' movie, because I knew him mainly from the Fantastic Four films, which he plays Johnny Storm, where he's always kind of wisecracky. He did a film called Cellular, which is a really kind of cheesy B movie with Kim Basinger and Jason Statham. It's all about him and a cell phone. It's a stupidly fun movie.
Right.
And also, I'm trying to think what our movies he did growing up. Oh, he did Not Another Teen Movie, which is like a spoof. So this was the first time where I saw him playing he's kind of he's not really the leader, but he takes charge. He has this take charge kind of personality in his movie, where everyone else has kind of let their emotions get in the way of it, and he is like, no, this is what we need to do, and he doesn't waver. And when I heard he was playing Captain America, this is the movie
that made
when everyone came to me and said, I don't know about Chris Evans' Captain America, I said, go watch Sunshine.
Yeah.
Because he is a take charge, badass who's just doing the right thing. Like when everyone else in the movie's like, oh no, we can't do this. He's like, no. He's like, this is what we got to do.
And it's the right thing, even if it's the wrong thing. Like there's a whole plot point.
Yes,
if there's less crew members, then they won't go through their oxygen as fast. So he's the one going, well, then does that mean we have to kill one of us?
Yeah.
And he's the guy that goes there, and if a lesser actor or a lesser director or a lesser writer did this, that would have come across as two-dimensional and sort of villainous. But it's not. He's greater good guy. He's the if we all die, that doesn't matter because we're saving planet Earth, which is in this solar winter right now. So he plays that line, but in such a well-developed, believable way. And yeah, you can draw a straight line from that to Captain America.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I watched the Sunshine. I was like, this is the guy I want as my captain.
Yeah.
This is the guy I want as the captain of my ship, let alone Captain America.
Yeah.
So I remember this was my evidence to people who were like, I don't know about Johnny Storm playing Captain America. I said, go see Sunshine.
Right.
That I had no worries once I heard he was going to play Captain America. So again, we'll get a little more to the story. I love Danny Boyle. One of my favorite things in a lot of his films is the score and the soundtrack.
Oh, it's
and this
gorgeous.
movie is kind of famous. I think if I came away with Chris Evans being the thing that stood out, the soundtrack of this movie is used in so many other movies. I believe the main scene in Kick-Ass where Hit Girl is saving Big Daddy while he's being set on fire.
Really?
That music. The music for that scene is from Sunshine.
I am so going to have to revisit that now.
Now revisit that scene. And what happened was Matthew Vaughn, you know how they do screenings before the movie's complete? Mm-hmm. So he was doing screenings in Hollywood, and what they do, because they haven't had a full orchestra and score the whole movie, they'll take older scores from other films just as a fill-in.
Yeah, temps.
Temps. Exactly. You know this. You're in editing business. And Matthew Vaughn used that music from Sunshine in that scene as a temp, and it was so good.
Perfect. That they were like, we need to get this.
He was just like, you know what? We're not going to write something new for this scene. Mm-hmm. We're just going to use this music because it works so good. And I'll never forget watching Kick-Ass in that scene, which is maybe my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's because of the music and the visuals. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking, holy crap, not only is this scene amazing with this score, I immediately thought of the same time the score is used during this movie.
Right.
And it blew my mind. There's a scene in the movie where one of I guess you could say the captain at the time has to go fix a solar panel.
Yeah.
And it's just really kind of it's kind of racing the clock, but they're racing the sun, literally. Mm-hmm. He has to fix this panel before the ship comes aligned with the sun again.
Right.
Because whenever the sun, here's the problem when you're on a mission to the sun. You're going towards the hottest thing in the world.
Yep.
The closer you get, you gotta be more protective because, the sun will destroy you if you get too close to it. Mm-hmm. I go outside and I get a sunburn if I'm playing basketball for a little bit. Yep. I couldn't imagine taking a ship straight to the sun. So the music in that scene, to me, is one of the most memorable scenes in the movie for me.
Yeah.
When you walked, let me ask you this: did you overall love this movie, or were you kind of in the middle when you first saw it?
I loved it because, the third act aside, and sort of
we'll
where it ends up going, there was just first of all, visually, production-wise, everything about like you're talking about the sun, what they came up with as their defense against it is this almost umbrella-looking shield, and it's design-wise, something I'd never seen in a sci-fi movie before. Yes. And I loved the look of it, and I loved the characters. We already talked, how great Chris Evans is. Mm-hmm. All of the characters are multidimensional and really interesting, and they're the archetypes, but not in that sort of boring way, in a more interesting way. And I just took away so much from the way Danny Boyle told the story and using the sun and how it affected them and the psychological aspects and the visual aspects that I didn't come away, even though a lot of times when a movie doesn't end the way that great, you walk away not liking the movie. I was able to dismiss that and remember all the things that I was just so visually blown away by. Okay. So I walked out really loving the movie and still do. Revisiting, you still felt the same. Yeah, I don't dislike the third act as much as I think some people do. I do think that it's a little bit of a left turn and a little weird. And there are multiple interpretations out there. There's people out there who don't think that actually think that Kappa was Penbaker, and that there wasn't actually another person turning into this sort of psycho. And I think that's stretching it a little bit, but people are just trying to wrap their heads around it or rationalize it or whatever because they want to love the movie, because everything else about it, I think, is worth.
All right, so let's dance around the third act a little bit. Okay. So basically, this ship that's on this mission to restart the sun, this isn't the first ship that went out.
Right. There's an Icarus 1.
It's Icarus 1 is out there. This is Icarus 2. Mm-hmm. They don't know what happened to Icarus 1.
Right.
Which, they, like, it's kind of a mystery, so, like, they kind of doubled their bet and said, all right, if mission 2 fails, we're pretty much screwed.
Right.
And so that's why I think Chris Evans' motivation is, like, this is it. We got to do it. So on their way, when one of the solar panels gets damaged, I believe, during that one scene I was talking about, that is why they come across Icarus 1, which has been just floating in space.
Well, what ends up happening is they're like slingshotting around Mercury, and they hear a distress signal, and it's the first time anybody's ever heard of anything from Icarus 1, and one of the dramatic tensions that is created in the movie is everybody on the ship makes Cillian Murphy's Kappa make the decision. Do we alter our course to go see the Icarus 1, or do we head straight for the sun like our original plan was? And his rationalization for altering their course to check out Icarus 1 is because the bomb might still be intact, and therefore they would have 2 bombs and therefore have 2 chances at getting this right, because like you said, this is their last chance. So that's right. He has the burden of this decision. He makes the decision to alter their course. The course altering resulted in the damaged shield, which resulted in, and then, so without giving too much away, but each action has a series of domino reactions and characters, lives are at stake, and all of that stems from this one decision.
Yeah, and I think Chris Evans' his character is like, we don't...
Oh, he was the one who was like, we do not go off course. We stay the course. We are... That's nice that we found Icarus 1, but it doesn't matter. We go for the sun. And he's ultimately... his decision doesn't stand.
Goes with the scientist, And there's a lot of tension between Cillian Murphy's character and Chris Evans' character. They're kind of like the 2 leads, really, in this movie. And and there's there's some great scenes when they enter the Icarus 1.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to dance. I don't want to give up too much away.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Apollo 13 type situations in this movie.
Sure.
Where I'm not saying there's exactly Apollo 13, but it's one of those movies. I don't want to call it disaster film, but it's like space is one of the hardest things to travel in and live in. And it kind of reminds me of Gravity in some ways, too. Gravity is a good one to pull in because space just gives you these situations where you have to make decisions to survive.
Right.
And there's scenes in this movie where, like, every time you think they solve the problem, another one comes up.
Right.
And you're just like, God damn, I hate space.
Yeah.
Like, why is it... It's just so hard to manage to live out there and to complete any kind of mission. So, without giving it away, even though I want to... The thing I love about this movie, it is a suspense thriller.
Yeah.
It's not just like people on a spaceship. The mission hits a lot of bumps in the roads.
Right.
And that's what makes for a lot of the drama and excitement in this movie.
And I like that the bumps in the road, because it's a movie, and it's a sci-fi movie set in space, and we've already discussed that this has been done many times before, and there's always bumps in the road. So, like, there would be a lot of people going into this going, well, I've seen that before. But I found everything that they bumped on logical. Like, everything was rooted in, okay, I get that, and I get that. And these people are fallible, they're human. Like, some of the things that the bumps in the road are because people make mistakes. And I'm like, well, they're humans, so yeah. And they're also humans that have been away from Earth for a year and a half in this isolated space, and that messes with your head. And the sun is sitting there, and... the one character, Cliff Curtis's character, that he's a psychologist, which I love that they had a psychologist on board. I'm like, why don't other sci-fi movies that are about spaceships going off, they should all have psychologists. This makes a lot of sense.
And the reason, because they're in space for so long.
Yeah.
Think about it, cabin fever, you get cabin fever.
Absolutely. And then that's a plot point in any of these other movies that are the same thing.
And one thing I love in this movie is, like, because they have cabin fever and that kind of, they prepare for that. Yeah. They have this hologram.
It's like the holodeck from Star Trek. Where it's peaceful and there's peaceful imagery.
Yeah,
and
it's like a 600 foot, like, it's a wall that turns into a TV screen, which just gives you, like, nature videos.
Right.
Of, like, birds flying or snow, like, whatever. You just want to, like, feel like you're somewhere else.
Exactly.
So you're not stuck you want to remember what you're fighting for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And like when the first time Kappa and Mace get into a fight, they like have to go see the psychologist,
Yes.
and like Mace is like fighting back, and he's like, "What did I have to tell you about my childhood now?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Nope, but I diagnosed you with XYZ, and you have to now go stand in the calming room for 2 hours."
That scene, it's like two kids who got a fight and they got sent to the principal.
Yes, pretty much.
And they're like sitting there like shake hands, like, all right, I hate you, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Man, what a good movie. This is one of those movies I recommend to people. But I always do say the third act takes a turn. I don't want to say really where it goes, because honestly, I don't know if I could explain if I wanted to.
Well, that's the thing, is like people come out scratching their heads more often than not. I mean, you can take the very literal approach and just sort of, it turns kind of into a monster movie in a weird way.
Yeah, in a weird way it does, I guess.
But it's...
By monster, I'm not saying alien either. That's the
right,
weird
that's
thing.
the way... So even I can't even encapsulate it in any kind of simple way. There's just no way to do that. But it's, for me personally, not nearly enough to make me not recommend the movie or not even like the movie.
True.
I still really like the movie. And it's...
Here's the thing, it's jarring.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said about a movie where something happens that is totally out of left field. I can understand some people being, against that.
Yeah.
Like, but at the same time, it's kind of refreshing.
Right, we're not going down the same road all these movies have gone down before.
Exactly.
This is something different. And you got to applaud filmmakers for doing something different. I mean, not unlike Interstellar, went down a really weird road, and you go out there and you take a poll, and 50% of the people in the poll loved it, 50% were like, what the hell was that? So but I always, even if I don't like where those tangents happen, always appreciate filmmakers that will swing for the fences in that respect.
It's a very good point. And I remember sitting in the theater and loving the movie.
Yeah.
And when that jarring third act kind of starts, I remember just thinking to myself, wait, what's happening?
Yeah.
And I looking over at my friend, because he's he was a huge Danny Boyle fan.
Right.
I was like, this is going somewhere I did not expect it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I remember just being really, even though I can't say it was good or bad, I was definitely jarred by the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after the movie, and it's one of those movies like I wanted to discuss right away.
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, what the hell just happened at the end of that movie? And then once you're discussing it, you're like, oh, okay. And it's like, there's still, I'm not going to say I love the third act. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I give it credit for doing something different. And if, for me, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't take away from the overall experience enough to me to not recommend the movie.
Yeah.
But I could understand if someone said, the ending just didn't do it for me. Right. I would be like, I want to be like defending it. I'd be like, totally understand. Yeah. If it's not if you couldn't really get into it, I could get that. I didn't really mind it because it was different, but it's one of those things where I'm like, because some movies, some are like, I didn't like the ending. I'm like, you're crazy. I'm like,
I'll flat out tell you, you're nuts. But in this case, I get that point of view.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like I said, even when it first happened to me, I wasn't like completely sure if I liked it. I was like, I hope if anything after listening to this, you want to go see this movie now.
Right. We're dancing around it so much that people are probably going to be like, I'm just going to see it to know what the hell they're talking about.
I say see it mainly for the performances of Chris Evans, and Cillian Murphy actually does a really good job too.
Yeah.
The whole cast.
There's not a weak link in this bunch for sure, but especially knowing what we know about Chris Evans now, I think looking back, a lot of people will be like, oh, that's been there. Like his talent and that persona has been there for a while.
It's been there. And visually, Danny Boyle
stunning.
is fantastic. I think the score is one of the best scores, like, for me personally, in the last decade or so, whenever it came out. Like, it's still something I hear to this day in other things. Yeah. Like video game trailers, I've used this thing before.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's like what that age-old thing where trailers use scores from older movies. You'll hear it there. It's John Murphy, but what he did sort of that. He brought on this like electronic band called Underworld, and so there's this play in the music, like this orchestral, gorgeous stuff that you're talking about. But then it gets kind of techno-y and like driving in parts, and the balance of it stands out in the best way music can stand out in a movie. I
remember when I first watched it at home for the first time, because I revisited this film several times. I was in an apartment at the time, and it's one of those scenes and scores you want to turn your TV up as loud as possible. Yes. I remember in that specific scene I was talking about earlier where it's very dramatic, he's fixing a solar power, and that music from Kick-Ass is playing. I turned my surround sound up so high, and I didn't realize it was like midnight.
Oops.
And my neighbors were the next day were like, "What are you playing at 12 at night?" I was like, my walls were shaking. I was like, "I'm sorry."
Right.
I got so caught up in the moment in the music, I had to just blast it. It's still, I think, even if you don't like the movie for some reason, like say you went out and you watched this, you're gonna like that sequence.
Yes.
That sequence, you just cut that out. Mm-hmm. You can't. There's no way you can not like that sequence.
Yeah.
If you like filmmaking, music, and everything.
I find myself comparing it to Interstellar a lot, not so much in plot and whatnot, but
or
the
mood
idea,
either, though. Really.
Right, but the idea of a movie-going experience to me, like that's what I took away from Interstellar. You know, I had issues with plots here and there, but like the idea of the scope of it, the visual scope, the emotional scope, the just the feeling in it, like, and you just feel like you experienced something. I felt the same way with Sunshine, the way that he uses the sun and how it affects the characters and the visuals of that, and like there's all of these like slightly out of focus, overexposed shots, and all of the what the sun's doing to their eyes and to their perceptions of things, and like all of this, and it's like it's really interesting, and you just sit back, whether it's in a theater or on your couch, you know, turn the sound up, turn it all up, and like. I don't know, it's like immersive in a way that I think makes it totally worth seeing.
I'm going to give a warning to all my fellow PS3 or PS4 people out there. For some reason, the Sunshine on Blu-ray will not work on PS3 or PS4.
Really?
It was something to do with the way the disc was created, and I know this firsthand. I had a PS3. I bought Sunshine on Blu-ray. It would play, but unfortunately, you know how like they do these video commentary sometimes?
Yeah.
For some reason, the Blu-ray will not let you switch that off. So
that's random.
Yeah, and when I got rid of my PS3 and I got a PS4, I was hoping the issue would be fixed.
Right.
Bought Sunshine again, did not work.
Oh,
so if you want to watch
the disc,
yeah, it's with the way the disc is manufactured, because it hasn't been like remade or remastered.
Yeah.
If they come out with a new edition, hopefully that'll fix it.
Sure.
But there's one that exists right now on Amazon or any Best Buy you go to. Do not work on PS3 and PS4. I'm telling you, I've done my research. There's forums, there's HD, Blu-ray forums all about this. So if you have a PS3 and PS4 and you want to watch it, buy it digitally, like off some website. Buy the DVD, or if you have a regular Blu-ray player, it'll probably work.
I have just a normal Blu-ray player.
There's
so
only 2 Blu-rays I know of that have this issue. Sunshine. And other film is Green Zone with Matt Damon.
Oh, yeah.
Those 2 movies, for some reason, do not work on Sony PS3 or PS4.
That's so bizarre.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I would own a movie on Blu-ray because I only have a PS4 to play my Blu-rays, and it's the one thing I could say my PS4 can't do is it won't play Sunshine.
Terrible.
But if you have stuff like Vudu, which a lot of people use, and stuff like that, you could go and buy it digitally. Right. I recommend it.
Hands down.
You know what? Maybe let's do it because we didn't give away the whole plot of the movie.
We're trying not to.
What would you give it like a score if you're going to score it? Let's do the Schmoes score, which is like 1 to 5.
At least a 4, maybe even inching above it. Maybe like a 4.25.
Okay, 4.25.
Yeah.
I am right with you at a 4.
Okay.
I'm right with you at a 4. I haven't seen it in a while because my Blu-ray player hasn't worked, but I've seen it so many times that I remember everything.
Yeah.
I would give it a solid 4. But like I said, if you watched it and the ending didn't work for you, I could see you going down to like a 3, 3.5.
Yeah.
Because really,
which is still not a bad score.
Which is not a bad score.
Stuff
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't think anybody would put under a 3 because of just the ending.
It was
really
like
harsh.
It was like over 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was pretty much a critical success, but like barely made 30 million worldwide. So.
Yeah. Like we said, it never got a full release in the States. It was very limited. I think it did its best money probably in the UK with Danny Boyle's.
Yeah, most of his early films. I mean, up until Slumdog, all of his films were smaller. I mean, cult hits. I mean, obviously,
yeah, I'm trying to think what was his.
Later,
I'm gonna look real quick what his film was right before Sunshine, because I mean he was a well-known name at that point. Okay, so.
Out of in Great Britain, yeah.
But I feel like in the U.S. he was starting to make a name for himself, wasn't he? Oh, he did The Beach. That's right.
Oh, that's
right. The one that
because that's the one everybody's like, oh yeah, Danny Boyle did that movie. Yeah, that didn't really work too well.
That was like Leo's first film after Titanic.
Yes,
that was like his big film after Titanic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he broke out with 20 Days Later. Then he did Millions.
Yes, which was a critical darling.
Critical darling. And I think that's why his name had a lot of heat when Sunshine came out.
Yes, agreed.
And that's why I was surprised it didn't get a wider release.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching that movie in theaters thinking, how is this not in more theaters? And then his next movie was Slumdog, and that's when
he takes a little while in between his. He doesn't do like every 2 years kind of thing. So was his last movie 127 Hours then?
No, his last one was Trance, which I never saw. That's the film with Rosario Dawson, James McAvoy, Vincent Cassel.
Oh.
It's I remember this movie because it's all about memories and like a guy's. It sounded Inception-y almost. Sounding
familiar, but I did not see that. Okay.
It did not do good reviews-wise.
Yeah.
It kind of got trashed. Even our own Josh McCouga actually went and interviewed Rosario Dawson when that movie came out 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I remember that because she apparently was dating Danny Boyle at the time of the movie, and then they had a horrible breakup. And they still had to do press together, and apparently you could feel...
We just went all Us Weekly.
Yeah, we went Us Weekly. The drama. Rosario Dawson, by the way, I love her.
Nice.
She was great in Daredevil.
Oh, she was... I was just like, get rid of Deborah Ann Wool and like put Rosario Dawson in there. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, seriously, put her in there. So, like we said, we seen Danny Boyle do 127 Hours, which is...
I love that
I don't even know how you categorize it. I guess it's a disaster movie.
If you had to do it in one word.
Slumdog is a great film that plays with like time jumping, and I love Slumdog.
That's another visual, just like experience.
If you want like the one movie to get his style, that is the movie to watch.
When I saw that movie, the theater was so packed, and I couldn't go to a later time, so I had to get like one of those really close front row side seats, and that movie's so bright and whipping all over the place, and I was like close to being like, this is going to make me a little sick, but it also at the same time just in your face visuals, seeing it that up close. It's incredible.
I need to revisit that movie because that movie was really good. Best Picture winner.
Yep.
So what other movie genre do you think you'd like to see him do? Because we see him do sci-fi, comedy, kids, zombies. Is there something maybe like you'd like to see him kind of tackle?
Well, in a weird way, almost because Sunshine did not do as well as I think either of us believe it should have, it would be interesting to see him come back to sci-fi and do something. Because sci-fi sort of made a little bit of a comeback because of Gravity and Interstellar and with The Martian coming out. I'd like to see what else he has up his sleeve in that vein. But also, I love his sort of irreverent... kind of dark humor stuff. I mean, Trainspotting is, like that's what started it all for him, and he's just kind of got this like quirky voice in that way. And so any genre where that can be, a part of it would work for me. But I like that he's done such a variety. So
me too.
Whatever strikes him,
go
for it.
I'd be kind of curious to see how he would do like a period piece because everything he's done has been pretty current. Imagine something like I don't know, like maybe. Like Angelina Jolie's been trying to do this Cleopatra movie. Yeah. Imagine like if he took something on like that. Something just like even like
hard to picture, but that is what makes it kind of intriguing.
It so good. That's why when I went Sunshine, I was like, oh, this guy. I want to see what this guy does with this, and I wonder what he's gonna do with this. So I would just like to see him maybe try a period piece. Maybe he did imagine if he did like an Untouchables type movie. Yeah. Gangster 1950s.
I think Gangster would be right up his alley because of his sort of like quick. And the visuals and that sort of noir feel maybe, and he just plays with light and color so well, and he surrounds himself with really great people. And it's funny, one of the things that when I was after I watched the movie, I looked it up on IMDb, and I hadn't realized that Alex Garland wrote this movie. And Alex Garland just directed Ex Machina, which up until I saw Inside Out was my favorite movie of this year so far.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I like Ex Machina. It was really good.
I thought it was amazing. And so it was sort of like, full circle kind of stuff. And obviously Garland is very interested in, the sci-fi, the big sci-fi with Sunshine, but the smaller artificial intelligent side of sci-fi for Ex Machina. So... that guy's had an interesting trajectory. But he's worked with Danny Boyle. He wrote 28 Days Later as well. So... he's an up-and-coming talent for sure.
Huh. Yeah, Ex Machina was really good. It's one of those movies I knew very little going in.
Yeah.
And coming out, I was like, wow, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to revisit it. I think Oscar Isaac was great in it.
I thought all three performances were great.
Yeah, the girl as a robot was fantastic. That's such a hard role.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Could be, I mean, again, there's so much potential for characters to just be so two-dimensional in movies that whenever they're not, I have to comment on it because that means good acting and good writing and good filmmaking, and I love those things. But a movie that's basically just stars three people, and all three people to be that good. I mean, yes, Oscar Isaac steals the movie.
Yeah.
He as he does in any movie he's in, he's just got presence that's... I cannot wait for Star Wars for many reasons, but that is one of them.
Yeah.
But I liked Ex Machina because it was smaller, quieter, set in like this one space, and just the dialogue and is so smart and so interesting on an ethical level and on a very current level, like with all the Edward Snowden stuff, a lot of that plays into it, and it's like, this is so smart, and I love smart writing.
I would have to say my favorite film of the year so far is probably Mad Max Fury Road.
It's my top three for sure.
Yeah.
Top 3 or 4. Yeah.
I really liked Ex Machina. The only thing I will say about Ex Machina, when the ending happened, I was kind of like, that's kind of what I expected to happen.
Yeah. I wish it had cut off. I'm not going to give anything else. I wish it had cut off at a certain point, and the last half a dozen shots. Yeah. There's a couple of things at the very end. I was like, if you just cut a shot that happened 3 shots ago, it would have been perfect.
I got you.
But I also understand what they were going for, so I certainly didn't hate it. And it's so obviously was my favorite movie of the year until Inside Out. So
wow, I need to see Inside Out.
Yes,
I'm going to see it very soon. Speaking of that, let's do some quick things.
All right.
Which is basically I tweeted out, hey, we're doing JT movie things. What's the last movie you watched? And Rachel will give her quick things about it, and as will I. Aziz at Khalid BVD, The Prisoners, was Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman film.
Oh, yeah, because Sicario, the trailer just came out.
Which looks amazing.
I think that's what trailers should be. Like, just, there's plot, but not too much plot. Yep. Visual, the mood, the feel came across.
It got a little bit of a Zero Dark 30 feel.
A little bit, yeah, especially with Emily Blunt being like Jessica Chastain. The parallels are definitely there.
But with drug cartels.
Yes, yeah. But because we're talking about this, Villeneuve is the director.
Daniel Villeneuve is like that?
Yeah, no, that's why I'm excited about Sicario, because Prisoners was... I didn't know what I expected when I sat down to watch it, but what I got blew me away. Acting, mood, feel, story, that's a talent right there. So yeah, anything he's doing, everybody's like on the edge of their seats for at this point.
I really like Prisoners. I need to revisit it. I haven't seen it since theaters. I remember I think it was like almost 3 hours long.
Yes, it is a long movie. It might have been
a little too long in my opinion.
And I think that might have been one of the reasons why it maybe didn't break into like the average moviegoer, list for movies to watch, but I've not met a single person that saw it and wasn't blown away by it.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, I wouldn't say I was blown away by it.
No?
I liked it, though. I really liked it. Murph on Movies, speaking of Interstellar, at Murph on Movies, Jurassic World. Did you see this behemoth?
I did see that behemoth.
Everyone and their mother
night with my friend, and I contributed to that 200 million plus opening weekend.
Everyone did.
Just like everybody else did.
So what was your thoughts on the movie?
I enjoyed the hell out of it. Okay. Like, there was the right mix of nostalgia and action and fun. It was the closest sequel at its heart, at its core, to the original. Okay. Because it married, like, the original was so great because the scenes that I remember from the original are like the first time Grant and Sadler see the dinosaurs. They get out of the Jeep and they fall to their knees, and it's the first time we see them too. And I remember being in a theater as a 13-year-old being like, jaw on the floor. And so it captured the joy and awe. And then it turned into a big scary movie. This movie did that too, and I liked that marriage. Now,
instead of the awe of dinosaurs, the awe of a park.
Yeah, like it's an amazing accomplishment and everything. Because the second and third movies were just danger, danger, danger. You know, running around, running away, all of this stuff. So it lost the joy, and this one brought some of the joy back. There's some plot issues. I didn't love whole long storylines. I thought they could just been ejected and we still would have had a perfectly fine movie. Yeah. But that last fight makes the whole thing worth it.
I really enjoyed the movie. I saw it twice. I will say the nostalgia goggles kind of fell off a little bit.
I wonder about that.
On the second watch.
Yeah.
Because the first time you're just so caught up in being back.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, listen, the movie's... There's going to be 10 more after the money it made.
Oh, so, yeah, Universal is jumping up and down with joy.
So Meow at Merme said, The Raid Redemption. Have you seen the Raid movies?
No, I haven't.
Are you...
it's on my list.
Okay.
I'm not as big into the action genre as some people.
Okay.
So But at this point, between you and other schmoes and friends who've just been talking about it and, I loved Daredevil, and I know that fight scene at the end of episode 2.
Oh, listen, Daredevil has nothing on the Raid.
And that's what everybody who's seen the Raid was like, this is what the Raid was for the whole movie. And I was like, I think I kind of need to see that. Yeah. So it's high on the list.
The first one is action-packed, non-stop, beginning to end. Second one has some of the best actions I've ever seen, but it's a little more drawn out because they went for more... They have a bigger budget, and they kind of want to make a different story. I recommend checking both out.
Okay.
They're two of the best action movies of the past 10 years. So,
nice.
Here's one of my favorite films of last year from Brian at BK Brian King, Whiplash.
Oh, my favorite movie of last year.
That was your favorite movie last year?
Hands down. There was no question. There wasn't like a hemming and hawing for me. It was. I saw it the first time I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
I just remember the last 10 minutes, I was sitting forward in my seat. I saw it by myself, and my shoulders were up next to my ears, and I was just like sitting there, like my whole body was so tense.
Okay.
And I'm like, and afterwards I was like, that a movie did that to me is amazing. There's not an extra frame to that film. Like every scene, every moment, it's tight. I got a great feel and mood. Both performances. I know everybody talks about J.K. Simmons, and he is phenomenal. Miles Teller is like my favorite young actor right now. He's insanely good.
I want him, like, I know he's doing Fantastic Four. I just want him to be doing independent movies because so far he has an independent film coming out. It's a boxing film. I think it's from the same guy that did Whiplash.
Yes, Damien Chazelle.
That could be great.
No, love Whiplash.
All right, let's do one more here. Let's see. We talked about this earlier a little bit, at least I did. Chris at CC Scorsese says The Untouchables.
Oh, that's a great one. It's like,
great movie.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that like my parents and I watched. Like the first time I watched it, I was with my parents, and they were like, "This is one of our favorites," and I watched it. And even as a teenager or whatever I was at the time, I was like, "Damn, like that's just like." So compelling and great acting and
the cast.
Nothing flashy with the filmmaking, but it didn't need to be because the story's so good.
Well,
and
I can see what you're saying. There is one flashy scene, the Sean Connery scene where the hitman sent to kill him.
Right.
It's all almost a POV shot.
Yeah.
Of the killer.
Right.
Which I thought was really interesting, and it's all in one take, which De Palma's kind of known for.
Yes.
Like Snake Eyes. The beginning of Snake Eyes in Cage is like a 10-minute one shot.
That, yeah.
But I love Untouchables. Kevin Costner, when he was like Kevin Costner.
Yes,
like
this was heyday. Prime. This was like, if he's in a movie, I'm there.
Yeah,
kind of stuff. Yeah.
And Sean Connery, it's the Chicago way.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. That was a little closer to a leprechaun than Sean Connery.
But it's Sean Connery, so he makes it work.
Yeah. Who else was in there? I mean, Al Capone, played by Robert De Niro.
Yeah, it's
such a very small role.
Yeah, but it's such a classic, like, it's such American history, too, that is made so entertaining and interesting and just marries all of those aspects that I love about films. Because I love period pieces.
Yes, me too.
So that's one of the best for sure.
There's not a lot of good gangster films set in that time that are, like, more... I'm trying, like, Public Enemies was kind of a disappointment.
Yeah.
With Johnny Depp.
Yeah, and
Gangster Squad.
Yeah.
Untouchables kills those movies.
Yeah,
not even close. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for another episode of JT Movie Thinks. Real quick, Rachel, tell them where they can find you.
Cool. Well, as JT mentioned, I'm always hitting up Schmoeville and the Profiles with Malone and Mance Facebook pages. And actually, thanks to them and to Josh and to the Schmoes, I actually started getting into movie reviewing on my own. And I have my own website, getrealwithrachel.com. That's real with 2 E's. And have to say that because people will look elsewhere. But it's just a place for me because I see movies, I will see these movies anyway, and I will talk about these movies anyway. So now I'm writing about them, and for those of you that have been reading, I'm eternally grateful, and thanks for the conversations. And feel free to hit me up on Facebook, Twitter at Rachel J. Cushing, or my website, and let's talk movies.
Yeah, guys, you can catch me at Schmoes JTE on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope. I think it's JTE or Schmoes JTE. I'm not quite sure. Still, I only Periscope when there's something to Periscope. Because I'm not that entertaining by myself. Also, Box Office Breakdown every Monday around 12:30. Check it out. We go over all the numbers. I mean, it's been crazy lately with Jurassic World and all that other stuff that's been happening.
It's just so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And with like nobody knows. Everybody's on the edge of their seat whether or not Inside Out's going to take it this weekend. It's going to be so close.
Right now, it's looking like Jurassic Park's going to win.
Probably good with the multipliers, even though I know Inside Out won Friday, but they're going after the same crowds too. It's families.
It's tough, yeah.
So
but it's Father's Day.
Yes.
Coming up, and a dad's going to
want
see
to go
Jurassic World. Yeah. Also, don't forget the Schmoes Know main show every week, 6 to 8 o'clock Pacific time. I'm in the booth engineering. I throw my mouth on a mic once in a while and talk movies. But that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. Do me a favor on iTunes. Go give me a rating, 5 stars. If you feel like we gave you a 5-star podcast, I think we did.
I think we definitely did. 5 stars.
Yeah. Write a comment. Say what up. Tell me some movies you watched. Maybe I'll mention them on the show. I haven't really gone through the comments and read them, but maybe instead Twitter, I'll start going through some of my iTunes.
Yeah, and if you see Sunshine because of this, let us know what you think.
Yeah, tweet us.
We want to actually talk about the plot.
It might be on. I wonder if it's on Netflix. Check Netflix, people.
Check.
It's been on there before.
It's true.
So check Netflix. Definitely tweet us if you've seen this movie. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you like that third act.
Yes, that is the question.
Did it derail you, or was it? You're like, I'm okay with it because the movie's awesome anyway.
Right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and again, thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Later.